Okay, let's practice. Oh, that's the end of class. Just kidding. Let's practice some more graphing piecewise functions. So this is the worksheet that you just got. It might not be yellow. This is actually a copy from last year. So carefully graph each of the following. Identify whether or not the graph is a function, then evaluate the graph at any specified domain value. So let's do number one together. So remember, f of x is the same as y. So y equals x plus 5. This tells me that the slope is 1. We've done this a bazillion times, so I'm not going to go further into that. If you need help with the graphing part, please, please, please come in at lunch one day that I'm here. So the slope is 1 and the y-intercept is 5. Remember yesterday I talked about common mistake. People put it on the x-axis instead of the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the y-axis, and then rise 1 and run 1, or down and left. I should be doing this in pencil. I'm glad that's not messing me up. Remember, we're erasing stuff, right? So if I were graphing this, I would just y equals x plus 5. Without the domain restriction, I would just connect the dots. But I have this domain restriction. I want to be less than -2. So I'm going to keep going, because that would be at -2, and now I'm starting to be less than -2. Okay? So I would connect, I'll do it. Connect the dots. When you get, like I said the other day, when you get good at this, you won't need to do all of this stuff. So that would be just for y equals x plus 5, but we need to keep this domain restriction in mind. So we want to be less than -2. So here's -2 on the x-axis. I'm going to connect with the line. It doesn't have an equal bar, so I'm going to do an open dot. And less than would be to the left. So I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff here. So I really wish I had done that in pencil so I could erase those dots, but you get the gist. Okay. This guy, the slope is -2 over 1, and the y-intercept is -1. So I'm going to start at -1. I'm going to go on the y-axis. I'm going to go down 2 and right 1, down 2 and right 1. I'm going to go in the other direction as well because I want to get over to x equals -2. So I'm going to go up and left, and I could draw the entire line and erase, but I'm hoping that you're getting a little good at this where you're like, okay, well, this is -2. Yeah, x equals -2, and greater than is only going to be the right. So I don't need to draw and erase. I don't need to draw all that stuff right there. This one does have the equal bar, so we did an example of this in the video on Tuesday. So I'm going to fill in the dot because it does have an equal bar. Okay, so that's the graph. I'm done with the graphing part. Next question, is it a function? So hopefully you remember from, oh yeah, Unit 2, I think. It was a while ago. The vertical line test. I am envisioning vertical lines. If there is any vertical line that crosses more than once, then it's not a function. This, every vertical line only crosses once, so it is a function. So that's kind of some old review stuff. Now, f of 3, this is asking me when x equals 3, what is the y? That first f of 3. So I'm going to go over x equals 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to try and figure out, well, that's not a nice question. Look. I don't know why it's asking me for such a yucky one, but whatever. Oh, it is a nice question. I just need to keep going with my slope. Okay. I was wondering what was going on. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, that's actually going to put me right on a nice pretty line. So counting out the slope is important so that you don't get the answer wrong if you just connect the dots like I did initially. So for x equals -3, x equals +3, my y value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -7. So when you see this function notation, the thing in the parentheses, remember, is f of x, right? So whatever is in the parentheses is the x value, and that's the same as y, so it's asking you for the y value, okay? It's saying, what is this equal to? So this one is x equals -4, and it's asking what the y is equal to. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and the y value is +1. So the answer to that guy is +1. And then this one, x equals -2. It's asking what the y is. So go over to -2, and the y value is +3. So the answer is 3 there. Okay. All right, let's do one more together that maybe doesn't have such pretty numbers. So let's look at number 4 together. Okay, I'm hoping that you're writing this down as we go because I'm essentially doing your classwork for you. Okay, so let's start with the graphing because that was the first thing. Now there's actually 3 pieces here. I don't know if you can tell that. I mean, you can see there's 3 domains, right? And it looks like the y equals got cut off, but I think you guys would have been okay with that. So here the slope is -1, right? The y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to start at 4 and I'm going to go down 1 over 1 or up 1 and left. I want to be less than or equal to 0, right? So here's 0, x equals 0, filled in dot less than, get rid of the rest of the stuff. Okay, this guy, ooh, I'm going to write it down here. Y equals 2x over 3 minus 1. And you're looking at that and you're like, what? Well, that's the same as, this is going to come up a couple times. That's the same as that. Don't let that freak you out. The slope is 2 over 3 and the y-intercept is -1. So I'm going to start at -1. I'm going to go up 2 and over 3, up 2 and over 3, down 2 and over in the other direction. Okay. This one is saying greater than 0. Okay, so greater than 0 means open dot right there. Greater than would be to the right, so I can get rid of this guy. But less than or equal to 5. Oh boy, I'm going to connect the dots because this isn't going to be at a perfect little corner. So if I got rid of this stuff because this part says x is greater than 0, if I read that backwards. Okay, this part says x is less than or equal to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right in there is a filled in dot because it has the equal bar. Less than would be left, so I'm getting rid of the stuff to the right. So I'm keeping all of this stuff. That's greater than, bigger than to the right of 0, and less than 5, so to the left of 5. And then lastly, this is y equals 2. Hopefully you remember what y equals 2 looks like on a graph. It's a horizontal line, right? So if I were drawing it, I would draw it all the way across and then I would erase it. But I know I only want it for greater than 5. So I'm going to do an open circle. Notice this is slightly higher than 2. I hope you can see that. If you were careful when you drew your graph, you can probably see it better on your paper. So this is slightly higher than 2. So this open circle is at 2, and it's a horizontal line for only for x values bigger than 5, like 6, 7, and so on. So I'm going to draw it that way. Okay. So question, is it a function? Now this is tricky. Some people might say no because they might say they have the point there and the point there, but that's actually an open circle. So if I'm thinking of a vertical line, it's hitting here, closed circle, but it's not hitting here, it's going through the open circle. Same thing here, closed circle, open circle. So the answer is yes, it is a function. Remember the graphs that, I'm going to draw something up here. The graphs that we looked at that were not functions look like this, right? Vertical line crosses more than one place, or something like this. Vertical line crosses more than one place, or even like an ellipse. Vertical line crosses more than one place. So if it kind of crosses around on itself, then it's not a function. So I don't think we're going to see any of those, but I could be wrong. So let's go back. Okay, f of -2. Remember, this is the x value. So -2, what is the y value? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. F of 0, x equals 0 on the y-axis. So here's my question. Do I use this guy or do I use this guy? We go with the filled in dot. Remember, this is an open dot. That means it doesn't equal. Okay, so I always, if I have a choice, I have to go with the filled in dot. So for x equals 0, y equals 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for x equals 5, ew, that's a yucky one. I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. X equals 5. I need to use that filled in dot, not the open dot. So let's see, where am I? This would be at x equals 1. So, and the slope was, what was the slope again? 2/3. So I would go up 2/3 and over 1. So that's actually 1 2/3. And then up another 2/3 and over 1. So that's 1 4/3. And you're looking at me like I'm crazy because that doesn't make sense. 1 4/3 is actually 2 1/3, right? It doesn't matter though because I want it as oh, you can't see what I wrote, as an improper fraction. So either here multiply and add or multiply and add, you're going to get 7/3. Okay? Okay, last thing. You know what? I'm going to say skip these for now. On the back side, you're going to skip the whole right side because this is getting to be kind of long. So we can talk about this another time. No, I'm changing my mind. Sorry guys, didn't mean to get you excited. We need to do this. So I'm going to do one of these as quickly as possible. Okay, so they want me to write an equation for the piecewise function whose graph is shown below. That's probably the hardest one, so let's do this one together, and there's a lot of space. So I'm just going to work my way from left to right. So I want to know the equation of this line. We did this on the very first day that I came back. I want to find some points that fall nicely on the corners. It doesn't matter what points. I could choose these two, I could choose these two, I could choose these two. It doesn't matter what points you choose. I just simply want to count out the slope. So between any 2 points, I'm going to rise 3 and run 1. So the slope of that first line is 3. Now to find the y-intercept, I'm going to need to carefully keep going with this slope. So rise 3 and run 1. Rise 3 and run 1. So the y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The y-intercept is 10. So the equation of that first line is 3x plus 10. Next section is just a horizontal line. So y equals 1, 2, 3, 4 is the next section. And then the last section, this has a slope of -3. Again, you can count it out between any 2 points that you want. -3, down 3, right 1. So the slope is -3. And you may see by symmetry the y-intercept is going to be the same, or maybe you don't. If instead of going down and right, I'm going to go up and left. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So that actually has the same y-intercept as the first guy. So this equation would be -3x plus 10. So I'm going to write it as a piecewise function. I've got the 3x plus 10, I've got the 4, and I've got the -3x plus 10. And I want to figure out the domains. Remember we did this on Monday. So domain is always x values. So this guy, this line segment, is from here, and it's got an arrow, so it's going forever. So it's going for x values that are smaller than -2. X values that are smaller than -2. There's a filled in dot so I can put the equal bar, okay? This guy is going between -2 and +2. The y equals 4. So from -2 to +2, remember how we write that? Like that. Now, I have an equal bar there, so I can't have an equal bar there. I could erase the equal bar there and put it there instead. You get to choose. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to leave these both with no equal bar, and then this one will have an equal bar. You can choose where you want the equal bar. It just can only be on one spot for the -2 and one spot for the +2. So this guy starts at 2 and goes larger for x values larger than 2, and it's got an arrow, so it goes forever. So this is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so this is the answer to question number 10. All right, good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.